So we're at the last section of our event, and we are wildly on time here. And we have our special guest, and who better to invite than my boss and make brownie points here. So we're going to just bring her into the call.
Hi!
Woohoo! Phew, look at that.
I don't know, I kept getting this message that I was being removed from the call. Had no idea why.
Wasn't me, boss, I promise.
Sure thing, of course.
So, Yina, who are you and what do you do for Microsoft Graph? You have many hats.
Yes, so Yina, I've been working on Microsoft Graph since it was an idea a few years back, actually like 6 years back. I remember because it's like how old my second youngest child is. And I've been doing many different things around Graph, API architecture, a whole bunch of things around auth, permissions, and flows, and basically bringing like around 50 different teams at Microsoft together to like consolidate their APIs and for us to stop shipping our organizational structure out to our customers and making it very simple for developing apps on top of our data.
It is pretty incredible to think like when you first started that journey, it was like OneDrive and Exchange with an Active Directory. Hey, David.
You want to say hi?
Hey,
we can't see you. We can't see the video. Okay. Ven, mi amor. Ven, cierra.
It's just amazing that we started with AAD and Exchange and SharePoint OneDrive, and now it's like, as you say, like 50 different workloads and 50 different engineering teams across not just Redmond buildings, but globally now with all these different teams that are working on APIs.
Indeed.
And so from Build, like there's always these big announcements. What are your top 3 that you would say are your favorite from this week?
Top 3? I mean, like, that's kind of hard to pick. There's a ton of new stuff. I will give you top 3 across different categories. So let's start with tooling. Like I'll say my top 3 on tooling. The first prize obviously goes to, well, I think it's a tie between the new UI for Graph Explorer and MGT, like Microsoft Graph Toolkit. Just like it's simple to bring that, like, just a couple of lines of code and then you have everything wired up, all API calls, the views, you can customize it. I think that's just fantastic. It makes it super easy to develop across SharePoint and Teams and your web apps. So just like hats off to Beth and to Nicola for all of the work that they've been doing with MGT. That's fantastic. And the new UI on Graph
I don't know where you are.
It's also amazing, right? Like the modified permissions, like how many times you had to go back and forth between the documents and look like what's the permissions that is required for this API, and it's just boom, right there. And so that's really cool. And then of course, PowerShell SDK2, I think that's a great one, especially when you're doing, when you're developing your apps and removing the permissions. Just having to go back to the Azure portal or having to go to myapps.microsoft.com and remove the permissions of the app just to try that again was pretty cumbersome. And now you can do that with a little simple script, 2 lines, to remove the service principal from your tenant. So that's actually pretty cool too.
Yeah, no,
so
it's
that's
just been fun.
Yeah, there's a ton of APIs that have been released as well at Build. We have the communication APIs that allow you to create all of the online meetings. We have updates on the profile API. Actually, we announced the profile API, the preview at Build at Ignite last year. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who have been working with profiles for quite some time, like this API is just fantastic of bringing all of the different set of properties that were previously stored in the SharePoint user profile service and modernizing that. And then, we're adding new capabilities on the toolkit that allows you to bring those settings in. And also, like, Nicola, did you talk about the new people person card that has presence as well?
We didn't touch on it, no, but there's a video on it.
Yeah, and so I happened to watch it at the bath last night. It's a good one. I just put in the chat link that I watched Kevin's one. There's a whole playlist of on-demand videos already for Build, and so they demoed the whole profile API stuff. And we have presence directly in what we built today with the moderator app, so it's really exciting to see that stuff come through.
Yeah, and that's just great capabilities. Another one is, for example, the query capabilities on directory APIs. It was actually pretty bad before, that you couldn't use like things like filter and select and do very basic operations on the directory APIs for users and groups. So that's new. That's also really good. That's from the API front. From the services front, I'll say that I'm really excited about so we are moving away from like just exposing the data. So like when I say the data is like, the mail, calendar, contacts, and all of that. And then going into exposing also the services that we have to power the Microsoft 365 experiences, right? Like, so Project Cortex, for example, it's one of those services where we take all of the information that we have for our users in our service and the activities that they have, and then start generating insights, connecting people with documents, with projects, with acronyms, and all of that, and then start exposing that into the APIs with the taxonomy APIs and the metadata, managed metadata APIs. So those all great things.
Yeah, I think Cortex is going to have a huge wave coming up at Ignite as well. So I'm excited to see as things kind of like bubble up to the surface across M365 and how the graph is just like the API for everything. It's super exciting to see these different teams coming up with these cool APIs. So that's cool. And so where do you send people, like as the mother of the graph, as many people call you, because you have been there since the beginning? Like, what is the one URL to rule them all when it comes to Microsoft Graph?
I think everyone knows this already. Graph.microsoft.com. Nothing else to remember. It's graph.microsoft.com. It will take you to the right place, to all of our wonderful documentation that we worked really hard to put together. And then, all of the experiences are there. The Graph Explorer is there. MGT Dev is there. Links to that, to all of the documentation that we have for our SDKs, for all of our APIs. Everything is there.
That's awesome. Well, look, I'm going to have to cut you a little bit short because we have to hand off to the next keynote that's running straight from here. But I appreciate you jumping on, Yina. And I'd just like to say thank you so much to Nicola and Beth. This has been awesome, near 3 hours.
Thank you too.
It's been a lot of fun.
Teamwork.
It was amazing. I watched the entire show, and you guys all loved it. Amazing.
Aww. Sweet. I'm taking Friday off for that, Yina. And thank you to everyone that's in the chat. I really appreciate all the engagement. It's somewhat weird doing this online without having the audience to feel like the roars and the cheers and the laughs when we're doing the gags. So I appreciate all the engagement in the chat window here on Twitch today. And if you like this, please let us know on Twitter. Share this, because we will be sharing this on demand, and we're probably going to do this again pretty soon. So let us know. And again, thank you to everyone, and enjoy the rest of Build. Woohoo! Go Giraffes! See ya. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.